So Brown is on top of a little hill, and halfway down the hill we have RISD. They are genuinely crazy. If you don't believe me, please Google their mascot. I didn't ask you to do it, but I was invited to a paint party my first week at RISD.
Interesting.
What would you wear to a paint party?
Overalls?
By paint party at RISD, what they meant was they came only dressed in paint. I took one look at the room and was like, I think I'm in the wrong place.
Oh my
But
god.
that's what I...
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Spill the Tea with Aditi. Today we have a really special guest again, Miss Shruti Kothari, who is an alumni from Brown University. She majored in mathematics and classics. And with that, over to you, Miss Shruti. Hi.
Hi, thanks for having me on this today.
You're so welcome. Today we're going to talk about your entire undergrad experience. What was it like? How did we get there? We want to get all the juicy details. All right. So, Ms. Shruti, tell us a little bit about yourself, about your high school experience. We'd love to know.
Okay, awesome. I was born and raised in Bangkok. So I did all of my primary school, middle school, high school from the same school in Bangkok. I loved a lot of different things. I loved mathematics always. I loved English always. I was very involved with a lot of math competitions. With a lot of poetry competitions, whatever you like. It was a whole lot of fun. I had a great group of friends. We were all obsessed with each other, and that remains the same to this day. So
Lovely.
It was a British school, so I was pretty set on going to the UK for college up until I went to Oxford for my interview and realized I absolutely did not want to be there. I love Oxford, don't get me wrong. It's a
Wow.
beautiful university and anyone who goes there is very blessed. But I realized that there was a misalignment.
Okay.
And so, yeah, that was when I started racing towards America.
Amazing. So what exactly did you feel like was the misalignment?
I realized that I needed a lot more fluidity in my curriculum and in the way people thought about academics. For me, I mean, you can see from my major is mathematics and classics, you don't really get that
Yeah.
combination in the UK.
Yes.
And I think I realized that early on, which was great because I think I would have felt a little bit stifled just by the curriculum.
Gotcha. So did you end up getting into Oxford after the interview?
I did.
Wow, so you rejected Oxford for Brown.
I don't think that's crazy. I think a lot of people do.
That's amazing though. Okay, that's really, really cool. So what was your profile like in high school? What sort of, you talked about math competitions, I got that, poetry
Yeah.
competitions. So what else did you really do? What was in your profile?
Okay, so leadership was definitely a big thing. I was the president of the Interact Club, so we did a lot of charity work, and I was quite innovative about how we did charity. So I used to set up a lot of art auctions and things that were novel to our school at the time. So that was really cool. I was also very involved in MUN.
Okay.
I was a hardcore debater, absolutely loved it, was very interested in world politics. I was very involved in the Duke of Edinburgh. I think some schools have it here maybe. We did a lot of camping and kayaking and hiking and all kinds.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was just...
So you're the full package, right? I mean, there's math, there's classics, there's sports. What are you missing?
Well, I will say I was never good at sports in terms of team sports.
Okay.
It was always individual endurance activities. That's why kayaking, totally fine. You put me on a football field, you will start weeping. As a side note, I think for getting into top colleges, you kind of have to put your best foot forward with your academics. I wasn't even settling for A+. I was always trying to get the best of whatever was possible. I did get the best in Thailand for chemistry for our GCSEs. I was top 10 in the world for English and Spanish for the same, and I was top 3 in the country overall. So I do think that it is so important to focus on your extracurriculars, but you can never let your academics slide because in the end, colleges are academic institutions.
That's always what I say. I mean, colleges are looking for well-rounded, holistically bright and interesting people. But at the end of the day, they are academic institutions, right?
Yep.
They can't lose their core. You can't be an interesting person who then cannot handle the rigor that the college brings forth for you. So they can't risk that.
Exactly.
So yeah, academics is just one of those things that's a filter criteria. Right?
Exactly.
I mean, it's the basic that they're evaluating serious candidates on. It's never enough, but without it, they're not even considering you.
Exactly.
So academics is something that absolutely cannot be missed, and I hope you guys took note of that. Okay, so what's the student life like? I mean, you were an international student in the US, international student at Brown. I mean, Brown does boast of a very vibrant international community in the first place, but what was your general experience like at college? Beyond academics, what was the college like?
It was amazing. So Brown is on top of a little hill, and halfway down the hill we have RISD. I think we like to call them our crazy cousins, and they are genuinely crazy. If you don't believe me, please Google their mascot. I didn't ask you to do it, but that was a lot of fun because you had, these kooky, creative, obviously very bright people that were just kind of, we had this sort of mixed culture then at a certain point where everyone was obviously...
And you guys have this program as well with RISD. Brown and RISD have this program together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's very tough to get into. All the kids that did get into that, they were, on another level. They were so talented.
Okay.
But yeah, absolutely phenomenal. As a Brown student, you can take classes at RISD, by the way, even if you're not part of that program. And it's the same with RISD. You can take classes at Brown. So there is a bit of a back and forth. It's quite well integrated. So that's really nice. Okay. Although I would beware of RISD parties. I was invited to a paint party my first week at RISD.
Interesting.
What would you wear to a paint party?
Overalls?
Yeah, exactly. So I wore like a really old baggy t-shirt and some pants that I never wanted to see again because I figured they were going to get painted. But by paint party at RISD, what they meant was they came only dressed in paint. I took one look at the room and was like, I think I'm in the wrong place.
Oh my
God.
God.
That's what I mean. There's always a little bit of a culture shock when you go to college. It's not about where you come from. It's about where you're going to.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so Brown, unlike a lot of colleges, isn't situated in the middle of a big city or anything. So what's that like? Is it stifling? Do you feel like...
Actually, there's so much to do on campus that you barely feel like leaving because there's just so many things happening every weekend, whether people are putting on shows. And those shows, by the way, are really high quality because you have to imagine that these people are extremely talented.
Of course.
Top of their class for whatever it is they're good at. Like they got in on the basis of that talent usually.
Right.
So they're phenomenal. Sports, really cool. I really enjoyed going to a lot of games. I hope Harvard always loses. It was a lot of fun. And New York is only 4 hours away. Or 3 actually, if you catch traffic on a good day. So that's very easy. And then Boston is an hour away. You can go for lunch and come back if you like. So if you want that big city vibe,
that's
it's
perfect, right
there.
You're getting both. You're getting the big city if you want it, but at the same time, you're in your own bubble and you're enjoying that.
Exactly, because you will never get campus life back again. Like it's your one opportunity to enjoy it. So it really acts as an incubator with all of these talented people kind of blossoming into all kinds of things by the time they're out.
And was it easy to mix in with the group as an international student? Did you feel welcome? Did you feel like it was easy to find your community?
It was extremely easy. I think that's something that Brown is very good for. Everyone is super friendly. Obviously, as a freshman, everyone's coming in fresh. So everyone is so excited to make friends. You can see a freshman a mile off because everyone's, smiling like crazy and, do you want to get lunch?
Oh, shoot. That sounds amazing.
It's awesome. So people are really nice. And then, of course, there are loads of societies and clubs that, you can find your corner in, whether you love to cook or whether you want to hang out with loads of other Indians or Thai people like me, or whether you want to dance or whether you, want to discover something completely new. There's a club for everything, and you get a hefty budget to make your own club if yours doesn't already exist.
Nice.
So it's very easy to start new things there. I was very involved in frat life, actually. I joined a fraternity, so that was exciting. Brown being Brown, of course, it's the hippie of the Ivies. I was in a co-ed fraternity. Everyone's always like, do you mean sorority? No, I don't mean sorority. I mean a fraternity. It used to be all male. And then at some point, someone said gender is a construct, and we decided to go all out open. So typical Brown story.
Amazing. Okay, you already mentioned some stereotypes like Brown being the hippie of the Ivy Leagues. But are they true? Are the stereotypes about Brown true?
Yes. Being a hippie does not mean that you're not academically driven. Everyone is deeply intelligent, so don't forget that part.
Yeah.
But yes, it's very hippie because everyone at Brown, I think, largely believes in freedom.
Yeah.
And so that freedom manifests in 1,000 different ways, and a lot of those ways are unconventional, and that's what makes a hippie. But that is our priority, is everyone should feel comfortable in their own skin, and everyone's on this path of discovery, and that often takes you really wacky places.
Interesting. Okay. Any other stereotypes that you were hit with while at Brown after Brown?
That's a good question. I think the hippie thing is kind of our USP. Everybody knows,
Okay. What's something that people don't know about Brown? It's not common knowledge, and maybe Brown doesn't like telling people about it either.
I did mention freedom takes you really interesting paths. I mean, we have a lot of cultural quirks. I mean, there was our previous president was called Ruth. The current one is CPAX. We're kind of obsessed with Ruth especially.
Okay.
But CPAX, Christina Paxson, is also pretty great. So yeah, they're kind of icons. We've got a couple of fun statues that we dress up a lot for different things. So you've got Marcus Aurelius and Augustus.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you'll often see them with traffic cones on their heads or dressed up for Halloween or, they really...
And the traffic cones on their head is not out of disrespect. It's just...
No, it's just participation in student revelry, I guess. So they're very much a part of life there.
Okay, freedom.
Okay, freedom.
Does anyone take offense to anything?
I think unless it's something that is hurtful to somebody else, no. So yes, people are often up in arms if you are disrespectful towards somebody's identity or somebody's work or somebody's belief systems.
So being politically correct is important.
Being politically correct is important. Obviously, our definition of politically correct is constantly upgrading as we learn more about the world and each other. So I would say that Brown is at the cutting edge of that. So it's kind of good to brush up on your knowledge of pronouns or whatever else. And no one's going to get upset at you if you get it wrong, but it is offensive if someone tells you and then you keep getting it wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. So that's one thing about Brown then. Our students who might be going should think about while considering Brown as a fit, that it's important to be updated with the culture and be updated.
The main thing is you just have to have an attitude of mutual respect.
Right.
Because obviously you're not going to know everybody's...
I think that's crucial wherever you're going.
Yeah, exactly. So it's you won't understand everyone's nuances straight off the bat. Mm-hmm. I think as long as you're open to listening and learning, you'll be a good fit.
Okay. That's all you can ever ask for, right? Okay. Works. So, Shruti, you have such an interesting major, math and classics. How did you land up at that? I mean, you told me that in high school you were already interested in poetry and math at the same time.
Yeah.
But how did you decide to, for heaven's sake, go all in college? It must have been hard.
No, actually, this is the most Brown story you'll ever hear, where I kind of always knew I wanted to do mathematics. Even in the UK, I'd applied for maths. It was very much my thing. And I liked to write also, of course, but I didn't think I'd major in it.
Okay.
So being a typical Brown student, I knew exactly what the course requirements were. I knew exactly which cryptography, number theory, abstract algebra classes I wanted to take. Mm-hmm. And I realized I could do them all in 3 years. So I decided that my first year, I'm just going to mess about and I'm going to do all of the fun classes that I've always wanted to do. So I did astrology, magic, and science. I took a class on alchemy, which had a great section on Harry Potter. It was awesome.
Oh my God.
I did Latin because, what a cool language to know. I did, all sorts. I did all kinds of mythology and history.
That's amazing.
It was a lot of fun. And at the end of my first year, I was trying to organize actually a charity dance competition with the professors. And there's one professor who's consistently rated top professor on campus, Professor Pucci. He's amazing. I love him. But anyway, I decided he would be our moneymaker for that competition. So I went to see him to convince him to join us. And he actually started asking me about my major and, what I'd done. And he ended up convincing me to join him because he was the head of classics.
Wow.
And he took one look at my classes and he said, you're one class away from a major. And I didn't even know what classics was. I was like, can you please explain to me what the classics are? So he explained. Obviously the cinch was that the last class was an advanced Latin class. So I ended up moving to Italy for a little bit and learning a lot of Italian and Latin very quickly to come back and finish that major. So I basically sealed my first major by accident that first year and then went on to study maths after that. So
that's perfect. Yes, that is a very Brown story.
Yep, exactly.
That's amazing that you can even do that you have the freedom to explore to that extent and end up genuinely developing an expertise in something so amazing and so interesting. And look where you ended up. I mean, you clearly didn't think that English was the way you were initially going to go, but that's where you've ended up in life in general.
Well, I think I see maths and English and any other language as very parallel. They're all grammar systems. They're all linguistic. Mm-hmm. So that is, for me, it was just studying two different languages, honestly. Like it was not two diverse courses.
Got it. You get to go to an Ivy League college and it's a top-notch education while being so well rated on the happiness index. And I'm like, why not? Right?
Yeah.
But it's not for everyone, is it, Brown? I mean, with the open curriculum, it's not a great fit for absolutely everyone. So on that note, everyone's heard about the unique open curriculum Brown. It's the thing about Brown, right? What is it like, actually? What does it mean? What is it like to experience?
It's amazing, actually. It's complete freedom to discover exactly what you like, what you enjoy, what will take you forward. the only requirement they have in your 4 years is to take one class that involves writing essays. That's literally it. The rest
And
is all...
that tells you how important writing is.
Yes.
It's all, so one thing Brown could choose and they chose writing.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't tell people how important writing is as a skill, I don't know what will.
So writing is all about communication and legacy, right? If you don't write properly, people don't understand even the best of your work. And if it's not written rather than orally communicated, I mean, it will get lost to time.
It gets lost. Makes sense. Okay, so did you see the open curriculum not working for any of your classmates? Did everyone thrive in this system?
That's a good question. For someone like me, it was a definite positive. For some people, I think they didn't take advantage of it as much as others, but it never stopped anyone from doing anything because you have the option to take very straight-laced courses that are all related to your desired major as well.
Did you see people get too distracted perhaps with the open curriculum or?
That can happen. You do have a lot of advisors. You have student advisors, you have, professors who advise you through your 4 years. So as long as you're kind of in tune with them and they're making sure you're on track, you're good to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's still good because that's a question a lot of our students have that, I like the flexibility, but what if I lose my way? I mean, I still have to find employment and I still have to be meaningfully employed after I get done. So while I might really, really enjoy my time at college, someone needs to make sure I go in the right direction. So it's good to know that the college has such a support system built in.
100%.
That's going to make sure that you can actually take advantage of the flexibility without losing track.
Absolutely. And I mean, they have flexibility in a lot of different ways, right? It's not just the courses that you can choose. It's also the fact that you can create your own majors. So you can quite literally build your entire experience to reflect exactly what you want out of life. They also have the system where your grades are A, B, C, or fail. There are no pluses or minuses. There's no GPA. And if you fail, then that class magically disappears from your transcript. So it will never hold you back because the idea is anyone in the future, employers or otherwise, grad school, they're supposed to be judging you based on what you know, not what you don't know. So if you failed a class, it's none of their business. But if you did well in a class, they should know because that's knowledge you bring to the table. So I just think it's
That's such an amazing philosophy.
Yeah.
So many colleges could be doing this. Right?
I just think it's a sensible way to look at what actual learning is and, give that space for failure because we always talk about it, right? Only when you fail and fail again do you succeed. But how many colleges are actually set up to allow you to do that safely?
This is amazing. Did you feel like most of the people benefited from such a flexible system and such an open system around failure?
I would say 100% yes.
Okay.
There is no downside to that as such.
Okay. That's lovely.
Yeah, because I mean, to graduate, you still need to pass a certain number of classes, right? So it's not that you can keep failing and swan your way through college and come out with absolutely nothing. It just gives you that little bit of space to explore things that you're less comfortable with. And maybe you'll do well, maybe you won't.
Without being too scared that this is going to take me down.
Right, exactly.
That's perfect.
I think it's always to do with decision making in the end. And this will be in any college campus. There's so many opportunities that there's always an opportunity cost when you make a choice.
Right.
So I think it's really important to be a little bit deliberate about what you're choosing to do because you remember that those choices also reflect the things that you no longer have capacity or time to do. I think taking the time at the beginning of a semester to really kind of craft your course and, using your evenings sensibly as well.
And maybe even drop a few weeks down,
Absolutely.
Take more, feel it out, so drop it.
Yeah, at Brown we have kind of a shopping period. So basically the first few weeks, you can take as many classes as you like. You can walk into anything, leave halfway through. Everybody knows everyone's shopping. But then,
interesting.
Yeah. But then after that, even if you end up with 7 or 8 classes, which I mean, you're supposed to take 4, that's the average, you can drop up to, I think, a week before your exams.
That's amazing.
So the nice thing is if you are really struggling or you really don't want to do something or for whatever reason, like you have the freedom to drop anything at any point.
And see, even if you feel that like you said, they're not going to put it on your transcript,
No.
but at the end of the day, you're stressed.
Right.
So why put yourself through stress
Exactly.
with no real returns?
Exactly.
So, see, your time isn't coming back. What's important to consider is that they won't put it on your transcript as a Brown student, but your time isn't coming back. The college experience is only going to happen once. And you really need to make sure that you have a good time and that you actually make memories while becoming a better person and a stronger person for the future. So balance that out because this isn't coming back. Speaking of opportunities, what were the actual tangible opportunities like when it came to, post-graduation employment opportunities? Like, was the alumni network strong enough for you to get support from?
It's amazing. So I was in New York for a year afterwards. I worked in publishing. That was awesome. Loads of Brown alum there. So even just in terms of kind of settling in, finding a family, actually, I think even that opportunity came through a Brown student.
Okay.
They knew someone at WW Norton and connected us. So that was great. And then I decided to move back to Bangkok. In Bangkok, actually, the Brown Alumni Society is very, very strong.
Okay.
They meet frequently and they really take care of each other. So
Amazing.
yeah, I mean, I got involved in college consulting actually the first time around because of a Brown alum who set me up, which was great. Yeah. And I mean, I've definitely helped a lot of Brown alum doing things.
Right.
So it's definitely that family feeling, because I think that's what Brown fosters. Moving to Dubai, it was interesting because there was no set up Brown network, but it was so easy. I just went on LinkedIn and I searched Brown University and the United Arab Emirates. There were around 55 hits. I messaged all of them. 50 people wrote back. And now I have 50 friends from Brown. Yeah, in the process of putting them all together. But it's so easy, and they're so easy to talk to, and they're extremely helpful. That's always the first question anyone asks. Hey, how can I help you? Do you need anything?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And see, that's one of the biggest reasons any of these amazing colleges, right, that they have their own support systems built down.
Yeah.
I mean, you go to one of these colleges, you forever now belong to this community.
Correct.
You don't just graduate from it and you're done with the college. It's not just a degree that you write on LinkedIn. It's also a community that's willing to support you because they identify with you, and everyone wants to support each other. And Brown specifically seems to be one of those examples where people generally through college or after seem to be very helpful and supportive. So
absolutely.
One of the things to definitely consider when
I think it also helps that it's a smaller school.
Yes.
Because it is very intimate then, and it is much more rare to meet someone from Brown than, for example, a much bigger school like UC Berkeley. My brother went to UC Berkeley. I'm obsessed with that place, by the way. But I just mean in terms of the alumni network, it's a lot more exciting because there are few of us.
You're right, right. Any raging rivalries that Brown has with other
Harvard.
universities?
We actually sell t-shirts in our shop that have a big Harvard logo in the middle. So if you're just looking at it, you think, nice Harvard t-shirt. And then it says underneath it, because I didn't get into Brown.
Who buys these?
I have one. Most people I know have one.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Sports, right? It'll do things to you.
Exactly. I would say one of the nice things about going to an Ivy League is that there's a sense of camaraderie, especially between the 8 schools. Even things like we have shared libraries. Like I can borrow books from any of those 8 schools. Right. Isn't that nice? Like, and there are loads of like Ivy conferences, or so there is this sense of kind of like extended family. Yeah. Basically,
it's like you're fighting with your cousins.
Exactly. That's exactly how it is.
Okay. Given the amazing experiences you've had throughout your education, what is one advice you would give students? One, on the fact that they might be choosing between US and UK as countries with such different academic systems. And secondly, if they do want to go for, say, an Ivy League university, what is your prime advice to these students?
I think between the UK and the US, it's a very long discussion. But what I will say is I generally advise applying to both, simply because there's such different systems and there are such different methods of getting in. You know, it's much easier to know where you're going to get in the UK than in the US. I would say that lean towards the UK if you're very sure of what you want to do.
Okay.
If you haven't had experience in the subject that you're applying for and there's a risk that maybe you'll end up hating it, really think about that carefully, because at least in the US, you have the breathing room to change it very easily.
Yes.
In the UK, it takes a reapplication. So yeah, it's a different scene. In terms of getting into an Ivy League, like you said, really put your best foot forward. Do your best at everything you can. Give everything your energy. I will also say that prioritize. Like, rather than being part of 10 different clubs, pick 2 or 3, but be very, very good at those.
Right.
Be a leader in those and really make an impact.
Sounds amazing.
I think happy people are generally the most successful people. So if you can focus on doing the things that make you happy on a daily basis, normally your outcomes are better.
That's amazing advice, because there are so many high achieving, hardworking students out there who need to hear that it's important to be happy while you're striving for success, because in the end, success is for happiness.
Exactly. And happiness is not a far off goal. Happiness is actually a daily undertaking. So I think the more you can remember that and integrate it into how you see every day, the easier things will be.
I think that's amazing advice for our students. On that note, thank you so much for being with us on this journey on Spill the Tea. Thank you so much, Ms. Shruti, for being here today. It was an amazing, insightful conversation. I think our students will benefit so much from this, not just from the experiences you had, but the advice you have to give about you guys. Just think about where you want to be. College is such an amazing time of your life. There are so many goals with college, right? You're supposed to be growing, but you're supposed to be having fun. These are the building blocks, and this time is just invaluable, both in terms of resources and in fact your life itself. So make sure you make the most of it, both in terms of making memories and getting the right resources that you need to be successful and happy for the rest of your life. With that, thank you for watching another episode. If you found this helpful, like, subscribe, and share, and we'll be back in the next episode. Bye-bye.